On this episode of Carnage, we're getting into gear with our Lexcen build. Wow, that is such a dad joke. Last episode on Carnage, we mounted up our 1UZ, we bolted a transmission to it, sorted out some engine mounts as well, some transmission mounts I should say, sorted them out, and they are semi-permanently affixed into the car. They both have to come out again, of course, because there's a converter got to go in there and a whole bunch of other stuff has to happen, but they will come in and out several times again, I'm sure. But I figure it's time to really dive into this transmission stuff. So this was the last A340 trans that we had in the Volvo. This was donated to us by a viewer. The trans before it didn't have a second gear. This one turned out didn't really have much of a top gear. But it has the good valve body in it that we bolted into those transmissions. So we need this valve body so we can put it into that transmission so we can sort it out with some other Haltech goodness. And let me show you that. So recently Haltech came up with this little gizmo. It's called the Prindle. P-R-N-D-L. Prindle. And it is basically a signal converter for the A340 transmission. That's right, they made a specific piece for the A340 so you could control one of these transmissions through the Haltech ECU. Good mate Gerardo at G-Force Transmissions has really pioneered some of this stuff. He's got a Supra running with an auto and a 2JZ runs mid-9s with an auto. Beautiful street car, just runs really nicely, and controlling an A340, you know, with a Prindle and a Haltech ECU. So there's some good stuff happening there. We're going to try and tap into that knowledge and make sure we can do this as well with our Lexcen build. But like I said before, we need the valve body out of this. I'm going to need some help with Gerardo in setting that up. And yeah, we need to pull that box out of the car so we can transfer this stuff into there, make all that happen. There's a lot going on. We've also had some deliveries from VPW, so there's a whole bunch of VPW goodness over here in the box. We've got boost couplings, we've got fuel lines, filters, a fuel pressure reg. We'll show you all this stuff in depth as we go through the build. A flex fuel adapter, right? So we already have the sensor from Haltech, and then that goes into this unit so we can run flex fuel on our Lexcen, which is one of our plans. We also have these adjustable trailing arms from Whiteline, which we got through VPW. So you can, VPW doesn't just carry their own parts, they carry all types of parts. So you can get Whiteline suspension parts through VPW. You can order all sorts of stuff through VPW. So you should be jumping on the VPW website and ordering stuff today, because this stuff, we ordered it Monday and we got it Tuesday. So that quick. It's awesome. So we've got all these goodies to go in the car. So that's a whole bunch of stuff we've got to sort out. We've also grabbed some more gaskets and stuff, 1UZ specific stuff from Dubai, because they seem to be the best source of parts for specific Toyota parts. So yeah, so we've got new gaskets and stuff from Dubai. So that's all arrived. It's been a big week for deliveries, I've got to say. There's a lot of stuff been showing up, but I think I've talked about it enough. Let's get this car up, get the trans out it, and get them side by side here on the bench and do some swapsy doobies. That's a technical term. So here's our two boxes side by side. There are slight differences between them. The main sections are very similar. I mean, I believe these ones have got a slightly higher torque rating because, you know, they're for a 4 litre V8 versus a 2.5 litre 6. Obviously the bell housing is much bulkier because they run a bigger converter than like the little 1JZ. I mean, the 2JZ and the 1UZ, I believe, use similar sort of size converters. And of course the output, you know, the V8 box is using this 3-prong arrangement instead of just a slip yoke. So there are differences. I was kind of hoping to use the pan off this one because I know the pan is really good on that one in terms of like it doesn't have dents and stuff in it, but because of the little extension piece that you need for your dipstick to go into is much longer on the V8 box, we're going to have to stick with that pan, and I guess we just need to get it off and beat the shit out of it so it goes somewhat into its proper shape, because it is very, let's say, how you going? Oh. Wow, that fluid is rank. Ugh. Yuck. That is some ugly fluid. Now, I'll admit it's been a couple of years since I've dived into one of these transmissions, but from memory, that's a different looking valve body to the JZ box. Not 100% that is true, but I'm being prepared for maybe disappointment when I pull the pan off that one. So let's flip that one over, remove the pan and see if I'm right. Because if I'm right, this is not going to be as easy as I thought. Let's see if I'm right or not. Yep. So, I called it. They are very different looking valve bodies. Why is life never simple? I figured this being, you know, cable operated, not full electronic, that they would be the same. They are not the same. Damn it. All right, this got a little bit more expensive and painful. So anyway, I'm gonna have to talk to some people, see what we can do about this situation, see what we can do to fix it. But ultimately, if this doesn't work out, I'm just going to put the Turbo 400 out of the troll bow in it. Because, yeah, this could be pretty painful. Right, so we have a bit of an answer to our question. And that is, that's an A340, this is an A341. Which I would have known if I'd looked at the little tag on the side of the transmission. It clearly says 3041 and that one says 3040. We've got a mix of these boxes, and you know, some people probably go, oh, you should have seen that it was an A341 because of blah, blah, blah. Look, I've got another identical box, identical looking box to this that is an A340. So you got to go off the tags, not off the, you know, whether it's got this flange on the back or whatever. So, but anyway, we have an A341. It means that valve body probably isn't going to work in this. Could do, I don't know. I'm not going to risk it. What I'm going to do is order a shift kit for this one from the US. It's probably going to take a week or two to get here, so that puts this on pause for the moment, which is a little bit frustrating. I was hoping to solve this today so we could, you know, get everything sort of sorted. That was the plan. But anyway, no plan survives contact with the enemy, and in this case, the enemy is the car. It's always the car. They always fight you. Right, so transmissions, that's a later day thing. What else have we got to talk about? We've had some deliveries, one of which is right here. Ta-da! That's right. We have a brand new Pulsar turbo sitting here. This, what do they call it? PSG 7170, I think is their terminology. If you want to equate that into like a Garrett spec type thing, it would be equivalent to a G40 1150, basically. Yeah, so 1150 horsepower capable turbo. Some people say, oh, that's too much turbo for what you're doing. Not really, when you think about it. You got to remember, 1150 is like a peak figure. That's like, at that figure, you're outside of the efficiency range, like a long way out. You know, where we want to be, what do I want to see? I want to see, what, 500 rear wheel horsepower? That'd be great. So we're talking, what, 700 horsepower at the engine? So when you put that into a compressor map, you know, at about 15 to 20 PSI and enough airflow to make 700 horsepower puts you right into the meat of the efficiency range, which is where we want to be, and that's where this turbo will suit. I could show you all on diagrams, but you know, I think that explains it. It is a V-band turbo, so V-band off the housing. So, you know, we're making obviously custom manifolds, so V-band and then V-band off the rear as well. It is a 106 rear housing, so it's a larger size housing, and we went for a larger sizing housing because we have 4 litres of capacity. If we say talk about the turbo that we've got on the Volvo, it's a 0.63 housing, so it's a small housing. I went that way, so we had small capacity. You know, we had a 2.5 litre on it, then the 3 litre on it. It comes up pretty quick on a 3 litre. On 2.5, it was a little bit laggier. It makes a big difference, but it also, 0.63 rear housing will choke it up as well. You end up with a lot of back pressure in that housing if you really send it to the moon. Works right on the Volvo, but we couldn't use that turbo on this because, you know, putting a 0.63 housing in that sort of turbo on a 4 litre, you would just choke the shit out of it. So larger housing, decent sized turbo, this will be perfect for that combination. So yeah, and you know, we've had pretty good success with Pulsar turbos so far. We've got one sitting there on the Mazda, works really well. Got one on the Volvo, it works really well as well. And we're getting a pair for our new project. Did I just say pair? Whoops, I probably shouldn't have said that. But anyway, that's a later day thing. Anyway, all right, so we have a turbo. We also have brand new radiator here from VPW, all set up ready to fit into a VRVS Commodore. We will trial fit that in a sec, make sure that all fits, and I don't see why it wouldn't. So yeah, you can get radiators from VPW for specific types of cars. So VS Commodore, no problem. There it is right there. So we've had some good deliveries today, and yeah. Unfortunately though, our transmission things, we just might have to move on. All right, so what can we do next? I think we need to pull the engine back out of this car because we need to get that cam cover welded up. So why don't we get that done? And then we can start looking at some of the injectors, manifold stuff. We've got to keep moving. We've got lots to do, not so much time to do it, and we might as well just keep going while parts are on order and on their way to us. All right. I think we have a little hole to fill. That's what she said. While the engine's out and we're waiting on some parts, we might as well pull the radiator out. We've also got to pull the front bar off to give us access to the frontal area, and therefore we can then make up mounts and fit an intercooler in there. So we have the intercooler, we might as well fit that up and start positioning some stuff that isn't really dependent on where the engine is. I mean, the intercooler can only go one spot, so mount it up and then we can pipe it up once the engine's in. But yeah, let's pull the radiator out and a few other bits. We can also test that other radiator, see if that fits, which it should, but yeah, you know, always got to test these things. Little clip. There we go. One V6 radiator. Let's use that rubber and that rubber. Whoops. Make a mess. Okay, in and in. There we go, we have a radiator. Right. Okay, we'll pop that out for the time being, just to keep it safe and secure. Yeah, radiator fits, that's awesome. You can get them through VPW, ProFlow. I asked nicely. Right, inner guard, gone. Oh. Jeez. There we go. We have a bar. Let's go stick it out the back. All right, I'm not sure we're putting aircon in this car. Well, it is a brand new day and we have a brand new intercooler here from VPW and ProFlow. So it's a 600 by 300 by 100 mil thick, so 4-inch thick intercooler. It's a girthy boy. And we're going to squeeze it into the front of the Lexcen. Oh, so shiny. Wow. Look at that. So I have put 3-inch thick cores into these model Commodores before, but I don't think I've ever done a 4-inch one. So it's going to be a new experience, but there does look like there's plenty of room. Yeah, it's going to look awesome. All right. Let's sit it up in there and make up some mounts. We actually do have a tool that will do this, except I lent it to someone and it hasn't come back. Right, so you are going on there. So today's a public holiday, so nothing's open, but decided we're going to use these LS1 bolts to hold our intercooler. It is 8mm thread up in the top there. And we're going to have to shorten some bolts. Who knows? Step one, done. Or should it be step one, done? Because most of the weight is being supported from the top, down below, we're just going to go nutserts into this lower panel. You know, we're not going to be able to put a nut on the other side of this because it's a kind of a hollow tube that you can't get your fingers in. So nutserts in the bottom. And then a flat plate just from there, across to there, and it'll be job done. How good is that? Wow, that is solid as. Awesome. So, our intercooler is mounted nice and solid. That's awesome. I'll just bolt the headlights back into place and then we'll sit the front bar on there and make sure that clears everything. But yeah, hopefully, should be right. Well, let's see if this fits. Wow, that actually fits. Yeah, we still got some bolts and stuff to do up, but I reckon if we just clearance in here and here, I mean, it's not even touching. To be honest, we could probably leave it. There's only a mil of clearance on this side, but there's like 3 mm clearance on that side. Wow. How good is that? It hides behind there really nice too. Like if you stand back, it's pretty stealth. That looks awesome. Really happy with that. Well, that's been a pretty productive day. I guess we'll end this episode there. Next time, you'll see this engine go back in. Hopefully we'll have the gearbox stuff sorted out. Obviously rocket cover will be all sealed up. We've got our new turbo to put in there, mount that up. Obviously the intercooler's there now, so we can do our pipe work for the intercooler, you know, at least some of the way. But yeah, we are seeing some real progression here. But there's still lots to do, and you're going to see all that in future episodes of Carnage.